Okay, so last time I was on here, I spoke about how I am again searching for a job, and I talked about all the rigmarole of trying to do the online applications, with the problems for everybody, and especially those on the spectrum. And today I want to talk about when you actually move on to the next step and you get that live interview. So, as I said before, I had 30 plus applications in all over town, and just this week, it was actually Monday. It was the 4th of July, which is a surprising day for someone to call. But luckily, unlike a lot of people, I had not partied or anything. I was up early in the morning. I just have a tendency to not be able to sleep that well. And I was downstairs getting breakfast, and my phone rang, and it was somebody from, I don't want to say exactly where, but let's just say more of a convenience type of store than a retail store, which is every other application I had put in was for a retail store. But the good thing about this place is that they do pay higher than the minimum wage here, and almost every other application I put in everywhere was paying the minimum wage, and that's just what I expected. Also, almost everywhere here is hiring part-time. A lot of people, this is due to, the Affordable Care Act, and they don't want to have to be responsible for paying you, well, for paying your medical costs and things like that. So anyway, in addition or comorbid with the Aspergers, I also have severe social anxiety. I have been doing a lot better with it for the last 4 years. Especially since I figured out what was going on about 4 or 5 years ago with me. But especially in situations like this, I also get panic attacks. So yesterday I was having sort of a prolonged panic attack leading up to this interview today for a job that, don't get me wrong, I'm sure it's a good job, but it was just like, oh, this wasn't what I really, like, there's nothing I really wanted to do around here. Like, nothing really exciting, but I was kind of just hoping for, like, a slower paced, like, where I can still keep busy. I like to be working at work, but more of like a low-key store, and this place is super fast-paced. So, anyway, and it's a little babble, but I was very nervous. I was having a panic attack. I did take my anti-anxiety medication this morning, and it's helped some, but basically what happens is, if I'm going into a situation and I take my anti-anxiety medicine, it's almost like my anxiety is so powerful that it overpowers it. And then when I come back out of it, I'm like, like there's such relief. And then I'm a little fuzzy-ish. So anyways, what happened today was, I was very nervous because it puts a lot of pressure on you when you have a million applications in, but you have one interview. So you feel like it's your one shot, especially if you haven't been bringing any money in lately, and you can only do like odd job things or selling things online to try to make some money. And then like people feel sorry for you and stuff. So the actual interview itself, I knew where they were going to seat me for the interview just because I've seen them doing interviews with people like this before. Because of the type of store this is, they do not, as far as I know, what I've seen and experienced today, they do not seat you in a back area for employees. They probably have a smaller break room. I don't know. I haven't seen it. But up in the front area where customers could be at. So when I walked in, they were like, I said, my name's my name. I gave my name. I said, I'm here for the interview. And go by Emma on here. They were like, okay, we'll let the manager know. Go over and get yourself a drink, because there is food service involved in this, which I'm not a big food service person, but go get yourself a drink, have a seat. So even though I was hoping, because they had me in at such an early interview this morning, that I was kind of getting in there before they got super busy, they were already super busy. So I kind of took in what all of the workers were doing, and I sat down. I had a drink, flavored water, didn't have regular water. And I was just like, still super nervous because, like I said, I need the money. So I don't stim or stem or whatever you want to call it, you know, the moving around, shaking thing. I articulate a lot with my hands when I'm talking, but the shaking your leg or any of that kind of stuff, I don't tend to do that much because I curbed that a long time ago when I was in school. But I had the biggest urge to like tap my foot a lot. I was like, don't do it. Like in my head, I could feel like my body wanting to do it. So I just sat there and I'm like, just be chill. Just be chill. And they had TVs like for customers. And I'm like, I really wish something but sports was on because sports does nothing for me. So then take my mind off anything. So another thing is, it did take a while for the manager or supervisor or whatever to come out. And I really hate when you have to wait in a room or an area for a supervisor. It happens with most jobs because they're busy. But, like, I have patience, but you kind of want to get this over with because especially for me and other people, just regular job interview, it's nerve-wracking. So you're kind of building it up and worrying. Then when the person gets there, you have to size them up, which can be difficult for people in the spectrum. I think regular people, you know, neurotypicals, I think they don't even think about sizing someone up in the way that we do. Sometimes I talked to somebody the other day who's looking for a job. It seemed like they sized up their supervisor, the one who was interviewing them, after. So I looked at her, and sometimes you can tell they're a really bubbly personality. So you have to be like on. But this person was like more sedate, more serious, like trying to get shit done. I got A, B, and C to do. Okay, right now I'm going to bang out this interview. So she came in, she sat down, she had a printout of my online application because I did try to do a paper application there and they didn't have them as usual. All the websites are buggy. So apparently I had one employment history item on my application. So she had to ask me about my whole employment history in addition to regular questions like, why do you want to work for this company? Which most companies are going to ask you. To me, do not be honest, as I know some people are like, oh, I need money. Like, trying to make it sound a little better. I was like, oh, you know, it's run very efficiently and friendly. I like that atmosphere. If they ask you if you know more, I actually read up slightly on the company before I went in, so I knew the year it was founded. I didn't bring that up to be like super nerd, but just in case. Um, you know, they're going to ask you qualities about yourself that you think are good for a job. Sometimes they also ask you the negative qualities, but you have to put a spin on that and make them like, sometimes I work too hard. I can be a bit too detail oriented. Mine, I just had the regular good one, so that was good. Now my problem came in just like I thought it would with the online applications, which is, why have you held so many positions over the last few years? And they did say it was understandable that some of my positions were internships. Although one of the internships, not the one I really loved, but the other one, I could have kept working there. I probably could still be working there right now. But the problem is I was trying to find a place to live and they paid the extremely bare minimum wage here. And my supervisor really didn't want to let me go. I was sort of like transitioning, like I was doing internship but working regular hours too. So with that, I just was like, you know, their internships, they end. I could have worked on there, but I had to go somewhere that made more money. And I think that's understandable when you're trying to support a household because my boyfriend and I had 2 full-time jobs and it was still extremely expensive to live around here. And we live in the middle of nowhere and rent and stuff is high compared to wages. So I didn't go that into detail, I'm telling you. So, well, why did you leave that job? And then you need to have a good reason. Um, I had down illness for someone in the family. I did further elaborate. I don't think that you should be made to further elaborate, but if they don't stop you, they're probably going to ask you more. So if you can just come off. I answered everything straightforward, to the point, and as quickly as possible, while sounding as knowledgeable as possible and as honest. But I was very straightforward like this. I wasn't like, so I did this, this, and that, because I could tell that wasn't the interviewer's personality. So the problem is that I did have those internships. I did explain that I worked in another internship that was paid, but internships have a finite amount of time. Well, why did you leave the job after the internship? Well, I was offered more money and better hours at another job. Now, I don't have a long work history, and they did say the internships are understandable, but the other jobs you've held, which they could see how they would relate to this job, and I know a lot of skills, which I think was good, because they asked me certain things like, what do you think we do here daily? What would be like your daily day here? And I could piece that together pretty quickly from having jobs that had components of what this place entails. And so that was fine. I could tell I was good at all the regular stuff. But they were like, she was like, so the problem is, that your work history, it looks like you don't keep a job that long. And it's expensive to train people, which I understand. So why would we want to hire you when we think you might only want to stay here 3 months? Now, prior to her saying that, and she's just going on about me not being, I don't know what you want to call it, loyal. She didn't use that word, but that's what I'm thinking. My mind just started like swarming and spinning like, okay, so I failed this one. And if I failed this one, I'm pretty screwed for the other ones too. And maybe that's why nobody's calling me, because on this application I had an issue online and I could only put in one job. And maybe the other ones were like, she's held too many jobs, and they just weren't willing to talk to me about it. But I came up with an answer on the spot as best I could. And I said, I think my issue was that I was going back to school, because the last job I had really held. I had done the other two previously, but you could see the reasoning for that. The other one was short too. And I said I had wanted to go back to school, but I think I wasn't. And I said wishy-washy. I didn't say flaky, but I did show a little bit of weakness. And then I was like, I do understand that might come off as wishy-washy, but I don't want to do that anymore. I think that was just because I was interested in going back to school and getting my degree. So right now I'm committed to being somewhere. I don't want to have to be going through training and everything again, just like you're saying. So basically I got on the good side. I made a small amount of small talk, chit chat here and there, but only a very small amount, because I could see that she was very busy about how they'd done a new design and layout and things, and I liked it. So another thing is, obviously in an online interview, you could be doing that in your underwear. If you're going, or on a phone interview even, although I try to dress up a little for a phone interview, which I've had those before, because it helps, and believe it or not, when you smell, it helps. But, so I wore, like, you want to wear something dressier. I know the thing is, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. But even in a place like this, where you're going to be working in jeans and a t-shirt, you are supposed to come in professionally dressed, so they know that you're serious. So I wore this really, I have scoliosis, so like I'm tilty. But I wore this really cute, it's just slightly tight, but it's a super adorable like Peter Pan collar top that I bought from this really awesome company when I had some money a few months ago. And I've been doing that for interviews. I have like black business pants with the pockets on the back. And this I already had. But the thing is, I did not have dress pants that fit me right now, because I had gained a few pounds. You can go, because my last job was very sedentary. You can go to the thrift store. That's what I always do. You're not trying on like 50 pairs of pants probably because everybody's built differently. Find a pair that looks good on you. You don't want them to be too tight, but you don't want them to be too loose because then you're going to look sloppy. So I have 2 good pairs of black pants right now that fit me at the size I am that work for interviews. Also, if your outfit might be as a bit sheer, this one isn't that sheer, but I still have a tank top on under it. Okay, that's my bra strap. But I still have a tank top on under it. So you get the idea there, which is you don't want to look hoey. You don't want to look sloppy. You don't want to look like you just rolled out of bed. My hair's pretty uncontrollable, but I have it brushed and styled as best I can. I don't tend to wear makeup, so I'm not wearing any makeup at all. I did mean to put some concealer under my eyes because they look tired, but I forgot. So, you know, look professional. I really don't have any professional shoes that aren't heels right now, and I tend to clip-clop in them, and I was worried they might do one of those store show-arounds or work show-arounds where they show you the office or store you're going to be working in. I don't want to be, like, clopping all over the place. So I actually realized that I had these slouch boots, which are not work appropriate, but the fact that my pants boot at the bottom, you're just seeing, like, the end of a brown shoe. So that works pretty good, too. So all in all, I would recommend you want to upsell yourself. They're always, another thing they're always going to ask at a job interview is, do you have any questions for us? And I find that if you already know the salary, don't ask about the salary. I learned that in a career development class, which was pretty unnecessary, but in school because I'd already had a bunch of jobs. But yeah, so going into this, I know what they pay. So that's not something I would ask. And also, I think it kind of makes you look money hungry and bad, even though nobody's working these jobs because they don't need money. You're working it because you need money. So, on the fly, because earlier I was before I went in, trying to think of something to ask, but honestly, it seems pretty straightforward type of place to work. I just ask about the dress code, which sounds good because it sounds like you already have the job. I realized that after I said it. And they told me what you would be wearing. And I specified even on shoes because if I needed to go buy shoes, I need to know. But like I was saying with the clothes, go to a thrift store, the cheapest one you can, you know, get pants for like $2, $5, whatever, wherever you live. Yard sale. Tops too. Church rummage giveaways and sales. All of those things. There's also something called Dress for Success, which I haven't done. But I was going to volunteer one time to help. My school did something like that. And I know they do a thing where professional working women, they give away bags of clothing. And I heard you pay so much for a bag if you're the one who needs the clothes. And you come in and then you pick out what you want. So at any rate, even though my career history is bad, not in what I've done or how I've done it, but in the fact that I don't keep my jobs a long time. And to be honest, those are personality things with me, and they have to do with my autism and being able to put up with certain things for a long period of time and to where I get overwhelmed. She did offer me the job. It was conditional on a drug test. A lot of companies say, whenever you go through the application, they say, would you be willing to take a drug test? Now, a lot of regular sales positions are going to ask you this, but not actually drug test you unless they see you doing something abnormal at work or you have an accident. But this one, I was surprised they had me go do the urine test. Some places do urine, some do mouth swab. I had to go do the urine test immediately because it has to be done within 24 hours. Basically, they don't want you to be doing stuff and then you take a couple days to get clean or whatever. I don't agree with this just because of a couple things. One, a lot of people smoke marijuana, and I believe that should be legalized. Two, I take prescription medication, which can show up as other medicine on a drug test. So I make my employer aware of that, or prospective employer, because if you try to tell them at the place you're getting the urine test, they will tell you that they can't take down confidential information. So I did mention to her that I am on prescription medication, and if they have any issue with that, to get back to me, and I can provide that. It's old because I'm poor and can't afford to go to the doctor. I am sorry that this is so rambly, but like I said, I'm a little out of it. I'm very stressed. I know, like, everybody's like, you should be happy. Also, she asked me if I preferred full-time or part-time, and somebody who needs money, I said full-time, but I'd also be willing to work part-time. She told me basically the 2 shifts that they were hiring for that only vary slightly, but they varied by day, because all jobs like that, you're going to have different days, which, I mean, it sucks for planning anything months in advance, but that's how it is. So, but I was happy to know that you probably wouldn't be scheduled a lot of different hours, different days, because I had a job like that where I worked until 10 or 11 one night, and the next day I had to be there at 3. And I agreed to that because I would take the job because I needed the job and I wanted to be indispensable. So, I'm very nervous. Not for the drug test, because that should be fine unless they have a problem with my prescription medication. It's not painkillers, by the way, in case that's what you're thinking. Although I wish I had painkillers, because I do have the severe scoliosis, female problems, severe migraines, etc. But nobody really cares doctor-wise. But more about actually getting the job and then having to go to work there, because I did see how stressful it looks. And it reminds me of when I worked at McDonald's many years ago. It was one of my first jobs. And hopefully, if they take me, which it seems like they it basically sounds like the hiring, I'm pretty much hired. So I'm just a little stressed about the actual work environment, and I know that I have to pace myself. But other interviews are done differently. For my last job, I had sort of a pre-interview with the secretarial person who worked there, and then she said, okay, now you're going to be interviewed by the head boss. And actually, she must have pre-approved me, because what he was doing was showing me around and offering me the job. I've had interviews where they call you on the phone first, and your first interview is a phone interview. They only asked me they called me on the phone about this to schedule the interview, but they only asked me like 3 questions, so that was not a real phone interview. Those ones can definitely catch you off guard, so you need to be thinking about that. And then they'll call you in for like an in-person interview on those usually. But yeah, so I think I have a job, probably full-time. I'm not sure when I'm going to start. It sounds like it might take up to a couple weeks. That's fine. I'll be happy to be earning some money again. Not in these little penny anyways that I've had to do lately. But if you have any questions or suggestions, like I said, I know this is a bit rambly and more of a vlog and not as much of a how-to as I want it to be. If you have any more questions about like tips that I have, or you have tips that you want to give out, please leave them in the comment section. I really appreciate it. Okay, and I'm trying to think. I might do more job related videos in the future. I most likely will, but I think my next video I'm going to do is going to be something completely different in terms of autism. And I also have another video coming out next. That one's going to be about Larry David. That's one of my projects that I was working on a few years ago. So subscribe, like the video, comment about anything you want to, and let's keep in touch. And thank you for watching my channel.